get on our Facebook page. Get on our Facebook page and let everybody know they've got to listen to this recording. So anyway, Elizabeth, we're turning it over to you. Here we go.
Okay, awesome. And before I jump in, I just want to check, since there are fewer people on the call, do you think it would make sense for me to just go through the entire presentation and then have the Q&A after? Or would you prefer for me to go through, and if you have a question, you can stop me at any point and I can explain something if it's too technical or if I'm going too fast? What would be better?
I think it makes sense to go through and then, hey, Lorette, to go through, and what we typically do is Q&A at the end. So let's move forward that way.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect for me. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my presentation here, which is all about, of course, outranking ACS and your competitors. So Renee touched a little bit about me speaking at Wedding MBA. I've been working in the wedding industry for about 6 years. I mostly work with wedding venues, but this particular presentation is geared more towards, of course, event marketing, because that's what you're focusing on in the bridal show industry. And when I spoke with Renee, we talked a little bit about ACS being a pain point for many people in your organization, but I know that there are other competitors that are also a pain point for you too. So what I'm hoping that you'll get out of this presentation is at least one or a few nuggets that you'll be able to then take back and either implement into your website or your Google My Business listing, or be able to take away from this. Because without knowing every person's kind of level of comfortability with SEO and digital marketing, I'm going to kind of try to explain everything at kind of a medium level. And then at the end, if you have questions or need clarification, then we'll go from there. So let's get into it. We'll start with the basics here. So when we're talking about the customer journey, of course, brides or wedding couples are online planning, or they've recently got engaged and you're wanting them to find your show. You want them to like the content that's either on your website or your event page, and of course, then register for your show. So it's pretty simple when you explain it like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, getting them to find your show. Now, I know everyone here is probably really familiar with search engine optimization and search engine marketing. And what I'm going to do with this part of the presentation is break down some of the most tangible ways that you can implement search engine optimization and search engine marketing into your digital marketing strategy, specifically tailored to the bridal show industry. So I first want to talk about SEO. So there's two main pillars of SEO, really. There's on-page SEO, and then there's off-page SEO. So on-page SEO is really referencing everything that happens within your website that is either negatively or positively impacting your SEO. And then off-page SEO is everything that is outside of your website. So your Google business listing, other listings, reviews that are impacting your SEO. So first I want to talk about on-page SEO. There's a lot of different ranking factors for SEO, of course. There's technical SEO and there's non-technical SEO. So what I want to do is teach you a few ways that you can more easily implement SEO into your website, either at a beginner or a mid-level, or if you decide to hire someone. So when we're talking about on-page SEO and SEO regarding your website, we're of course talking about wanting to drive more traffic to your website. And the best ways to drive more traffic to your website are through getting those keywords onto your website, so that when people are searching for those keywords, your website pops up first. And of course, having relevant content that includes those keywords and also other content pillars for your website. And then there's also site speed, which I'll touch on in a little bit. So talking about site speed, a lot of people don't really consider site speed to be an important ranking factor of SEO, but it's actually one of the most important and easiest ways to increase your SEO almost immediately. So the way really that a faster website impacts your SEO, it's two things. First, you know that if your website is loading slow, people are probably going to leave your website. But what you might not know is that when your website is loading slow and you have a higher bounce rate on your website, that's actually negatively impacting your SEO and Google wanting to rank your website higher. So there is a page speed tool called Page Speed Insights, and you can actually run your website through that page speed tool, and it will let you know exactly what is slowing your website down. So a lot of it boils down to, one, your hosting. A lot of people use GoDaddy or HostGator, or use kind of a shared server type of hosting. Even though it's inexpensive to use a hosting platform like that and to use a shared server, that's actually going to negatively impact your website. Typically what happens is when you're on a shared server, you have all these other websites that are on that server with you. And when the traffic of one website goes up, that can actually slow your website down. So, oh, is everyone muted? I'm just gonna go mute everyone. Okay. So anyway, touching back into that. So when you're on a shared server, you know, if one website traffic is going up, that can actually slow your website down because you are sharing that server. So what I would recommend to you is, if you don't know a lot about hosting, but are looking to improve your SEO, it would be really beneficial for you to look into just a single server hosting plan. And I can talk more about that after the presentation. Something that you can do in the interim to really speed up your website is to optimize all the images on your homepage and on the landing pages that people are landing on when they come into your website. So one tool that I like to use is called bulk resize photos. I have it here in my tab. And what you can do is you can actually hop into here, drop your images, and then you can resize all those images. I would say you want them to be about 167 kilobytes or less when we're talking about website images for your photo, and having them in WebP version is going to be better than having them as a JPEG or a PNG. So that's something that you can do right off the bat immediately, is get a better hosting plan, optimize the images on your website. That's really going to speed your website up. And then, of course, the other factor to consider is your content management system. So, you know, when you have a website on WordPress versus like Squarespace or Wix, there's a number of different website builders now. There's Webflow. Some people are still out there still completely building a website from scratch. But the CMS, meaning the content management system, such as WordPress or Squarespace, really directly impacts your site speed as well. When you're using a CMS like Squarespace, it might be really easy to use and be user-friendly because it is a drag and drop builder. So almost literally anyone can get in there and actually build a website. But what comes with that ease of access is actually bloating of the code and the JavaScript and the HTML. So that actually ends up slowing down your website. If you are to do a bootstrap website, meaning very clean code, probably WordPress is the best option long-term. So I know that's not something that you can fix immediately in the interim, but if you are looking to improve your site speed, you might consider moving to a CMS like WordPress, and possibly working with a developer to minify a lot of that code on your website to speed it up. So big takeaway from that is you can switch your hosting plan to better, get a single server, and resize your images to 200 kilobytes or less. Try to make sure that they are WebP. Don't do PNGs or JPEGs. So this is kind of a visual representation of that. If you were to just get a better hosting plan, you're going to be going a little bit faster on your website. If you optimize your website and get a better hosting plan, you're going to be more like Wile E. Coyote and his little rocket ship. So the next thing I want to talk about is jumping topics on SEO is to keywords. So, you know, site speed, that's a little bit more of like the technical SEO side. Keywords, it's not quite so technical. So hopefully I can explain this in a very easy way for you to understand. But most people that are on this call probably understand the importance of keywords. And you can see the importance in this image on the right. These are all of the keywords, or some of them, for people that are actually looking for bridal shows and expos and bridal fairs. So whether or not you know a whole lot about the importance of your keyword strategy, the basic gist is that you need keywords on your site to get people to your website, but you might not know what keywords to use or how to find those keywords. So it's actually not that complicated. There's many different keyword tools out there. Ahrefs is a really popular one. Ahrefs is a little bit more, I would say, for SEOs and for people that are a bit more like comfortable with technical SEO. SpyFu is a really amazing tool that is a little bit more user-friendly. It's great for beginner SEOs, people that aren't necessarily SEOs, but want to drive more traffic to their website. And then of course, there's Google Keyword Planner. So what you would use the keyword tool for is to perform your keyword research. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like here. I'm going to try to minimize this. Okay, hopefully everyone can still see my screen. So this is SpyFu, and this is kind of an overview. So when I typed in bridal shows Tennessee, this shows me all of the similar keywords. So you can see that there's not a whole lot of search volume for that. And using SpyFu, you can kind of get more ideas for different keywords. So if I click here on view all, this will fetch the keywords and it will let me know what keywords are kind of more like, I see pink bridal show has 420 searches a month. That's great. It will let you know what keywords are more viable. So you can use this tool, SpyFu, to be able to put together your keyword plan and put together what keywords. Now, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed at the number of keywords, there's a few different things that I want you to kind of consider to filter out those keywords so that you can make smarter decisions in the short term. And if you want to have, thousands and thousands of keywords in the long term, that's great too. So let's talk about some keyword considerations. The first is relevance. What that really means is like, how relevant is this keyword to your business? How does it impact your bottom line? If you're using the keyword, if you're a bridal show producer and you're ranking for the keyword bridal shows near me, that's a very relevant keyword. If you're ranking for the keyword, wedding venues in Nashville, or, how to plan a wedding in 6 months, it's not necessarily a relevant keyword. So it's not directly impacting your bottom line. If you are wanting to determine more keywords kind of down the funnel or down the line later on that can attract people before they're even engaged or before they're kind of making that decision or thinking about wedding planning, you can definitely consider that too. What that looks like, for example, in the wedding venue industry is if I'm working with a wedding venue and they're getting tons of traffic to their website for brides that are searching for a wedding venue, I might put together a proposal package at that wedding venue and start targeting people that are looking to propose or people that are looking for an engagement. So that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about the relevance of the keyword. You want to focus on things that are going to impact your bottom line immediately and right off the bat. And then when you're a little bit more comfortable and you're ranking for those keywords, then you can start considering other keywords that are, a little bit further down the funnel. And then there's keyword difficulty. And I will use SpyFu in this tab to show you what keyword difficulty is. So this little tab right here called KD is keyword difficulty. And basically what this means is how easy or how difficult it is to rank for that keyword. So of course, when you're considering a keyword, you want to go for keywords that are a little bit lower, anything between 0 to 40. For example, bridal shows in Tennessee, it only has 40 people searching for it a month, but it has a keyword difficulty of 66, which that's a little bit on the higher range. The lower a keyword difficulty is, the easier it is going to be for you to rank for that keyword. And then finally, of course, there is search volume. So heading back over here, you can see the search volume on SpyFu, and that essentially means how many people are searching for this keyword per month. So if people are searching for a keyword and there's only 40 searches a month, you might not want to add that to your keyword plan because it's just not quite viable. You're wanting to look for keywords that have a volume of at least 100 searches per month. I mean, hopefully more than that. So that's kind of an overview of a very short overview of how to put together the keywords that you want on your website, whether or not you've started putting keywords on your website. Hopefully you find this useful. SpyFu is a really great, easy to use tool. And with these 3 considerations in mind, it'll really help you filter out keywords that are going to help you get more people to your bridal show faster. So speaking of keywords and kind of staying on the topic of not so technical SEO is of course the content on your website. So, when talking about our keyword research and implementing keywords into the website, Of course, the best way to do that is to write content on your website. So there's a lot of different considerations for the content that you are putting onto your website, but I want to talk about a few of those. Of course, there's the keywords. I could have an entire another presentation about how to get those keywords into the content of your website. What I can say is for those of you who are using WordPress as your CMS, there's this amazing tool called Rank Math, and it is a free SEO plugin. And what it does is when you upload it onto your WordPress website, it will kind of let you know a checklist of all the SEO items you need to do, like really simple things, such as adding it to your header, adding it to your body more, adding it to your URL and your slug. It gives you a nice little checklist of everything. So whether or not you're a beginner SEO, you'll make sure that you at least have the best SEO practices in mind. And they do have a paid version, but you can use the free version and it works quite well. All you do is type in your keyword into the page and you press enter, and then it gives you that list of everything that you need to do to optimize that page, and it will give you a score. So that is really important as far as like getting the keywords into your website. I'm not really sure about how that works with Squarespace or other CMS because I only work with WordPress, just to be totally candid, but I'm sure you could Google and look at all the different ways that you can implement your keywords into your blog content or your page content on other CMS. So when we're talking about content, this may seem obvious to some people, but obviously you want that content to be really high quality. So what I'm saying basically is do not outsource the blog writing on your website to someone that doesn't really speak English or to someone who is not a copywriter. And if you are writing that content yourself, there's a tool that I recommend. It's here in my extensions, and it's called Grammarly. And what Grammarly does is it not only checks your spelling and grammar, but it helps you make your writing a little bit more succinct and make a little bit more sense if you tend to, not sound confident in your writing. It will help you really tailor that writing and help anyone, even if you're not an amazing writer or an author, to be a heck of a lot better. And then, of course, when we're talking about content, we want the content to be recent and relevant. So what I mean by that is if you've written a blog about 2022 wedding trends, that no longer matters. It's December. It's about to be 2023. What you might consider doing with content like that is either repurposing it to be a 2023 to 2024 blog, or just repurposing it in some other way. So you want to make sure that the content is recent and relevant. So, in the bridal show industry, I saw this blog on a photographer's website about what to do as soon as you get engaged. I thought that was a really interesting blog. Of course, it is targeting people that are a little bit further up the funnel, but it is interesting and it is relevant because attending a bridal show would be one of the things that many people should do as soon as they get engaged and are planning their wedding. And then a couple more things regarding the content of your website. When you are writing content, if you are writing blog style content, it's really important to include a table of contents. What that looks like is it's either a numbered list or a bulleted list, and you are anchoring to different sections of the blog content. So if it's anything more than like 500 words, definitely include a table of contents in there that links to different headings. Google actually will rank your content higher if you have a table of contents. I've seen it a million times. I'm writing a blog for a wedding venue. I go back the next month, I organize it, add a table of contents to it, and that blog shoots up to the number 2 spot on Google, going from like the number 14. So adding the table of contents is really, really, really important when you're writing the content for your website. And then 2 last things that I want to touch on for the content of your website is linking. So what that means is to kind of help Google understand your website and know different pages of your website. It really helps if you link to other relevant pages on your website. So for example, if you're writing a blog about this blog right here, just got engaged, 10 things you need to do, and your number 10 item is attend a bridal show, you might hyperlink, the bridal show to the event page on your website, and that will kind of help Google understand and rank your content higher. If you want to automate the linking process, there is a plugin on WordPress called Link Whisper. It does cost, I think it costs about $120 a year. But what that does is it helps you come up with different ideas of stuff to link. So you can type in a keyword, and if you've mentioned that keyword somewhere else on your website and forgotten to link it, it will automatically link that content for you. So it kind of automates that process. It makes it really easy, and it will definitely increase your SEO with like minimal effort and minimal SEO expertise, if you will. And then finally, of course, everyone knows this, but please make sure your website is responsive. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's just like mobile friendly. Like, get on your phone, look at your website. Do things scroll weird? Do they jank out of place? Does it take you back up to the top if you open up a modal? Like, make sure that all of that is responsive, not only for Google, but also so that when people are like using your website on their phone, it's a really good experience for them. Whether you have a back to top button, or they can tether to go back up to the table of contents to look at more of that content, or you just have your menu bar on top, make it really easy for them. People tend to not really like websites that have like smooth scrolling or have some of those kind of clunky animations on a phone. They just typically don't work really well. And frankly, they also slow your website down, which is not good for SEO. So big takeaways for the content: make sure it's high quality, get those keywords in there. If you're on WordPress, you can use Rank Math, you can use Link Whisper to kind of automate the SEO process for you. And definitely, if it's long form blog content, you want to have a table of contents in there to break down that content and to also increase the SEO of the blog. So, okay, so I put together a few content ideas. I used an example from Renee's website, but just to kind of give you an idea, earlier I was talking about targeting people that are a little bit further down the funnel, meaning they might not even be engaged yet, or they're not even like planning on it, or they're not wedding planning. But if you're able to create some like local helpful content ideas, like ring shopping or places to propose or engagement photographers or proposal packages, those are all people that can potentially be clients down the road. And so what you might consider is either having like a live chat integration on your website so that whenever they visit these pages, a little chat box will pop up and be like, hey, it might be a little down the road, but we're having this amazing wedding show 2 months from now, 4 months from now, whatever that may be. I know I keep jumping around, but I want to show you kind of what that looks like in practice. So on my client's website, Legacy Farms, who is a wedding venue in Nashville, when I go to this proposal package, when I scroll here, let me move this little chat box out of the way. There's a little chat box that pops up. I can't get the Zoom bar out of the way. Sorry, here we go. It says, hey, this is Kelly. Are you interested in our sunset proposal package? And you can say, yes, I am. No, thank you. So you can actually use like live chat to kind of interact with people and to guide them through your website and get them where you want to get them to. So if you're producing multiple shows, you might consider, hey, where are you located? And give them a list to choose from, or when are you planning on proposing? And then send them to the appropriate page with the appropriate event. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. What I'm really trying to say is you can make content that's a little bit further up the funnel, but make sure that they're not just going to your website and then leaving and totally forgetting about you. Grab some information from them to market to them, put them into your email drip campaign, or, simply just let them know that you're having this event and that it would be great to introduce it to their SO, not only proposing to them, but hey, also surprising you, we're going to this amazing wedding show in 2 or 3 weeks. And that's another way that you can kind of create more content around your website and drive more traffic and get more leads. Okay, now for the fun part of the presentation. I'm going to teach everyone how to generate code, but I don't want you to be intimidated by this part of the presentation, because you're not actually going to have to learn how to do everything, because I've automated this entire process for you. So let me step back for a second. So when we're talking about event marketing, one of the best ways to let Google know that you have an upcoming event is to add what's called structured data to your website. This is also called event schema. Schema is short for schematic. Think of it as like a blueprint. So you can generate a schema for your entire website if you're a local business and just say, this is my business name, this is my address, these are my hours, this is my logo, etc. But you can also create schema for articles and how-to and your about page, and most importantly to you, for events. So when I was doing my research and I was looking at which would be the closest major city to me, Salt Lake City, I looked for Salt Lake City bridal shows. And obviously the first thing that pops up is the events tab. So even before these local listings pop up and the maps listings pop up, these events are popping up. So when I was seeing which bridal shows were ranking higher, I noticed that this bridal show actually has the structured data within the pages of their website and the rest do not. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't have the structured data that you won't end up on the events tab. Google is pretty smart. What I am saying is if you nudge it in the right direction and add this piece of structured data into the event page of your website and then instant index that content to Google, it will tell Google like, hey, this is an event, it's taking place. So if you look at this picture right here, this is actually the structured data from that event that I just showed you that's taking place in Salt Lake City. So you can see it's taking place in Sandy, Utah. You can see the address, you can see the listing URL, the listing title, and all of that information. Okay, and I know you're thinking like, how do I get this onto my website? I am not a coder. So I've tried to make this as easy for everyone as possible. What I did is on my website, along with having a link to this presentation, I have created a structured data generator. And so it has step-by-step instructions. You fill out the info, click generate, copy it, paste the HTML code into your website event page. So, I mean, what that would look like, and I'll just kind of auto-populate some of this for just for the sake of time. All you have to do is put your information in here, add your location, and the address of the event, and then all you have to do is click generate. And there you go. Now it's not so scary, is it? Your generated structured data is right there. You click copy. All you have to do is paste that into your website. So whatever, CMS you're on, typically you can have like a code block, and all you have to do is paste it. So you want to paste that code for every single event page. So if you have one for Nashville, paste your Nashville event code on there. For Knoxville, for Chattanooga, etc. That's what you need to paste onto there. And again, just to reiterate, you still have the likelihood and can show up on the events tab, even if you don't have that, but you're definitely increasing your likelihood. And then one other thing that I want to impress upon you is when you do add that code, head over to your Google Search Console and make sure that you instantly index or at least request indexing for that page. So you can see on here, I created an event for my client yesterday and added that code because they're having a January open house. And I had actually generated that using the code on my website that I created for you. And I actually created that page yesterday and indexed it to Google. So that URL is already on Google. Typically, if you don't add your URL and click here and click to request indexing, it can take anywhere from, oh gosh, I don't want to put a number on it, but it can take weeks for that URL to show up on Google. So really time is of the essence. So just to kind of reiterate that, do generate this code for every single event page. Do add the code as an HTML code block. Typically, if you're using like a drag and drop builder, you'll just click code block, paste it in there. It doesn't matter where it is on the page. It can be anywhere. And then just click save. And then head over to your Google Search Console and go ahead and request indexing for that page so that they can see the update that you made to that page, especially if it's a newer page or if it's a new event page that you're making. So hopefully everyone is still with me. That was definitely the most technical aspect of this call. And I hope that you find that to be really easy to just be able to fill out that info and generate that code and put that directly into your event pages. So I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit and start talking about off-page SEO. So I saw that there was a presentation maybe this summer already about the Google business listing, Google ads and all that stuff. So I'm sure you already know a lot of this information, but I just want to impress upon you a few things, whether it's like just a reminder or whether this is the first time for you. So again, your off-page SEO is everything that takes place off of your website that's impacting your SEO. I kind of like to think of it as like online popularity, meaning the things that are impacting you. The main things are backlinks to your website, reviews that you're getting, especially on your Google listing, and of course your local listings. So I'm sure everyone knows what backlinks are, but for those who don't, it's essentially another website that's linking to your website. And the more backlinks you have from websites that have what's called a high domain authority, which is almost kind of like a credit score. It's kind of like an arbitrary scoring system of your website. It's not necessarily used by Google as a ranking factor, but a lot of like Ahrefs and Moz and other SEO softwares kind of use that. The more links that you have going to your website, the better. So whether amongst yourselves you decide that you want to kind of exchange backlinks, that could be something that you could do that would really be beneficial and very impacting. What that looks like, for instance, in kind of more my industry, wedding venue, is if I am posting about a real wedding, I will put all the vendors at the bottom and link to them. And whenever they're posting about the wedding, they will link back to my client's website, the wedding venue. So it's not rocket science. You can, one thing I would like to impress upon you, please do not hire anyone to do backlinks.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem. Do not go on Fiverr to hire backlinks. Do not hire someone from India or Bangladesh for backlinks on your website. They typically will end up being called toxic backlinks, and they can negatively impact your SEO. So it does take time to like coordinate with your friends and vendors and wedding industry colleagues to get those backlinks, but it's totally worth it. Just do not pay a company to do it. I've had clients do it behind my back, and I've had to disavow those links in Google. It's a big mess. And of course, you know the importance of reviews. Google listing is where you're probably going to get the most bang for your buck. When you're getting reviews, it's really easy to copy and paste a link and send it to people to get reviews. Of course, the more reviews you have, the better. But what's more important than that is replying to all of those reviews. So even if it's a negative review, everyone gets them. You have to reply to that. It's important. If you don't reply to all of your reviews, Google is going to kind of see you as dormant. And then something else that's really important when it comes to your off-page SEO is, of course, your Google listing. I know a lot of people in here probably know a lot about their Google listing already, so I won't get too much into it. But what I do want to impress upon you are kind of what I have in this bulleted list. So I touched upon replying to those reviews, but what I found beneficial is if you also kind of SEO optimize those review replies. So what does that look like? Let's say, for instance, Kathy leaves a review and says, "This was the best bridal show. I had such an amazing time." You might reply to that and say, "Thanks, Kathy. We really pride ourselves as one of the top bridal shows in Albuquerque," yada, 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 and finish the rest of your review reply. So no one's really going to notice that keyword that you put in there. Just don't be awkward about it. And that's going to help bolster your profile a little bit. And then more importantly to you is posting updates and events. So, you know, whoever you're hiring to do your social media, or if you're doing it yourself, anytime that you're posting on social media, you should cross-post that as an update on your Google business listing. But more importantly, you need to be making sure that these bridal show events are listed as an events tab. So it's pretty easy to add an event tab. I'm not sure if I have it on here. No, I don't. Okay, so I won't go there. But basically, all you have to do is log into your Google listing and go to post update and click event, add all the event details, add a really nice photo. You can add up to 10 photos if you want, and then post that event. So it's kind of almost similar to like letting Google know kind of like through the structured data that you are hosting an event. A couple other things I want you to know about your Google business listing. You should have at least 100 photos on there. Even better if you're able to get those 100 photos that are on your Google business listing and have those same 100 photos somewhere on your website with the same metadata. I've seen for the past 10 years that if you have under 100 photos, you know, it's not really going to help you a lot. And if you have over 100 photos, it doesn't make like a huge difference. So about 100 photos, that's kind of the sweet spot. Photos of past bridal shows, photos from vendors, however you can make that happen, just make sure they're really great photos. Don't post photos from your iPhone or, you know, photos you took on your iPhone at the bridal show. We all know the lighting, the fluorescent lighting is really not that great. Few other things is, of course, your SEO description. So when you're writing the description, if you can add a keyword in there, that's super great. And then service areas and services. So add as many service areas as you can. And really, since you are a bridal show producer, you can add a lot of different wedding related services. You can add wedding planning, wedding floral, wedding catering, and everything, because technically you are doing that because those vendors are attending the bridal show. So the more of those relative services that you have, the better it's going to be for your Google listing profile. Okay, so I talked a lot about search engine optimization, and that was pretty much the majority of the call. I'm going to touch a little bit on search engine marketing. I've seen that you've had some calls in the past already to talk about Facebook ads and how to do targeting for that. So I'm sure you talked about Google ads too. So I'll kind of keep this brief and just keep it pretty high level. You know, the main difference between Google ads and Facebook ads is that Google ads are search intent, meaning that it is a wedding couple or a bride or a groom or whoever that is searching for a bridal show or searching for something that's relevant, a keyword to your business. And so when you're setting those ads up, if you're setting them up in expert mode instead of express mode, then you have the option to tailor those keywords. And the same logic applies that I taught you earlier about keywords, meaning that the considerations are the relevance of the keyword, how relevant it is to your business, the keyword difficulty, how hard is it to rank for, how many other people are bidding on this keyword, because if there's more people bidding on it, then you're less likely to show up for it. And then of course, search volume. If there's not enough search volume, then your keyword and your ad is probably not going to show up. And so then of course, there's Facebook advertising, which is more demographics based. One thing about Facebook ads is that it's really relatively easy for anyone to go in and set up a Facebook ad. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time to manage. They are a lot easier to manage than Google ads. So you definitely don't need to be paying out the wazoo for someone to manage your Facebook ads, because really there's not a whole lot that you really could do differently. You're targeting your location, of course, your bridal show, maybe 100-mile radius. You're targeting an age demographic, possibly. You can target a gender if you want to. But of course, the most important is to target people. I typically won't target people that are engaged. I will only target people that are newly engaged. So like 3 months or sooner. If you want to increase that to people that are engaged for 6 months or longer, you can definitely do that too if you want to kind of cast that wide net. But that's really the main difference. I would say Facebook ads are a little bit more relevant for the bridal show industry than say like wedding venues or other services in the wedding industry. But Google is going to get people to your website that have more of that search intent. I think the main thing that I've noticed that's different about the bridal show industry is there's just not quite as many people that are searching for bridal shows. And again, it kind of goes back to that same concept in the wedding industry of like this person or this couple, like they're uneducated. They might not even know like a bridal show exists. And so, you know, you have people that you can target that know about bridal shows and they are looking for those bridal shows and they're further down the funnel. Or you can kind of go the Facebook route and target people and kind of educate them about why they should come to this bridal show or wedding expo. So that's the main difference between the two. The main takeaway from that is tying back to SEO is that SEO and writing that content and putting together your keyword plan, all that stuff takes time. Search engine marketing and Facebook ads, you can have people signing up for your bridal show the same day or tomorrow if you set it up and they approve your ad. So it's really easy to, especially since engagement season is coming up, you know, those are really the main two things that you're going to want to look for in the short term to kind of capitalize just on the time frame of when more people are getting engaged and funneling them into attending the bridal show. So that's mainly what I wanted to touch on as far as like search engine marketing, because again, I know everyone here has probably heard spiels about Google ads and heard spiels about Facebook ads. So really the main thing that I would impart upon you is anyone can set up Google ads in the express mode. It's actually very easy. I have a lot of wedding venue owners that will do that. But if you want to be a little bit more strategic, about the keywords that you are targeting for, you'll want to set it up in expert mode. It's a little bit more cumbersome. It's a little bit more hands-on, but it gives you a lot more power and control over what keywords you are ranking for, instead of just kind of casting a wider net to people that are wedding planning. So I want to talk about the next phase of our presentation, which is we've gotten people to your website through search engine optimization and search engine marketing. And now, of course, we want to convert them on your website. So, this is a little bit different of a topic as far as like digital marketing, but it is very relevant, because if you're driving all this traffic to your website and they are not registering, you have essentially wasted all of that money that you've spent on your marketing budget. So I want to talk to you about some really important factors, and I've already touched on a couple, of how to make sure that you are giving people the best user experience, which is basically through your website, because most of your traffic is being driven to your website, or whether you have an Eventbrite profile, same concept if they want to go to your website and kind of scope out what you have to offer. Most of the traffic should be going to your website. So when we're talking about the most important website factors, design is of course key. Really, being a bridal show producer, it really kind of is your job to stay on top of a lot of those wedding trends. And you want to make sure that your website reflects that too. So you don't want your website to look like it was built 10 years ago, or look like it's just kind of like a cookie cutter template. I'm not saying you need to spend $10,000 on a website. I would never suggest that to anyone. Merely what I'm suggesting is that when you're thinking about kind of the strategy of driving all that traffic to your website, you really want to make sure that what you're showing them is really just like awe-inspiring and breathtaking and really great with branding. Your logo, your colors, all of that stuff, it all really matters. It is a very visual industry, so your website should really reflect that too. And touching on it being a visual industry, of course, the visuals of your website are super important. You have to make sure that you have your best photos out there. Please do not use photos that you took with an iPhone or took at the actual bridal show that has all the fluorescent lighting that wasn't done by a professional photographer. And you all already know that you need to have your best photos. So really what I'm trying to impart upon you is not necessarily the photos, but when you are adding videos to your website, like a highlights reel or kind of a look back on the last bridal show, you want to make sure that those are hosted on YouTube. Number one, because YouTube is one of the biggest search engines in the world, in addition to Instagram and TikTok, and of course, Google. But you want to make sure that those videos are no longer than 45 seconds. So if you do anything longer than that, people are not going to watch it. They're just simply not going to see it. So you might even consider like putting together a really nice highlight reel, but only have it be about 15 to 45 seconds. And this is something that you can cross post on Instagram, TikTok, your Google business listing, which is all important. So once you create it that one time, you can kind of use it in multiple areas to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. So yeah, the visuals are really important. Your fonts, your colors, you really want it to make sure that it's trendy, and just make sure that it really speaks to people that are coming to the website. Because again, you're driving all that traffic to your website now. And the more people that really like the content on your website, the more people are going to convert. And then of course, there is website transparency. So yeah, everyone knows that you need to be upfront about your information, and you might not think that that's necessarily like relevant in the bridal show industry, but really what I'm trying to spell out for you is when you're thinking about like transparency on your website, you want to have all of your event show information out there. But more importantly, if you, being the bridal show producer, you know your target audience and you know your demographic better than anyone else. So if you happen to know that there are certain pain points or hesitations for people that are attending your bridal show, you want to adjust those up front and center. To kind of give you an example of that relating to the wedding venue industry, I have a client, they are pictured on this page, Mountain House Estate, and they are kind of located, they're in wine country, but they're definitely a bit of a drive down a windy road. out of the way from the Bay Area. So on the website and in our marketing materials, we address the fact that, we are off the beaten path, and we try to kind of play that in a more positive tone and kind of take control of that narrative. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to kind of relate that more to your industry as far as any hesitations. I noticed a lot of tickets are free or they're $10 at the door. So it's probably not price. It might be time. It might be access. It might be maybe they think they're just going to be sold to. Maybe they don't think they're going to get enough out of it. Maybe they think it'll be a waste of their time. Whatever those hesitations are, or those negative thoughts that people are having, address that on your website in a very succinct way where, you don't have to say it outright, but just make it where it's putting them at ease as they're going through the website, whether that's through the FAQ section or using a live chat box to kind of interact with them as they're on the website. So then, of course, you want your website to be easy to access. I touched on this a bit earlier, just as far as having a responsive website. But again, I would implore, please go to your website on a phone. Is there text that's kind of falling off the page? Is something scrolling weird? Does it open up and then scroll you back to the top of the page? Is it hard to get back to the top of the page? Are all the links clickable? Make sure that everything is really easy and accessible. That will really help a lot more people actually convert on your website when you are driving all that traffic to your website through search engine optimization and search engine marketing. So next part of the presentation. So we've driven the traffic to your website. They are converting on your website. Now we want to talk about how to measure those conversions. And I saw that there was a talk on Google Analytics this summer. So some of this might be kind of a refresher to you. Universal Analytics has been replaced by GA4, Google Analytics 4. It's a little bit more difficult to use, I would say, than Universal Analytics for the average person. But what is really easy to do, and that you can do, and possibly you already are doing, is when people are registering for that event, you can redirect them to a thank you page, and then you can put a code on that thank you page from Google that lets Google know like where that conversion came from. So when we're talking about measuring conversions, what I really mean is, are they coming from your SEO? Are they coming from your Google ads? Are they coming from Facebook? Are they coming from your social media? You're able to track all of that in Google Analytics. And the easiest way for the average person to do that is by creating that thank you page, placing the code on that thank you page, and then tracking those conversions so that you can see, okay, well, I'm not getting a ton of leads from organic search. Maybe I need to beef that up. Or I'm spending all this money on, I've hired the social media manager and I'm paying her $1,000 a month, and I'm not really getting any conversions from social media. Why am I paying this person to do that? It will help you make a lot smarter decisions about where to put that digital marketing budget towards, and just help you more in the future. So that was my entire presentation, but I am going to go over the most important things that I want to impart upon you that you should take away from this presentation. So I've broken this down into what you need to do right now if you haven't already, what you should do on a monthly basis, and what you should be doing annually. So ASAP plan.
And I fucked this up. It was at 2 o'clock, not 3 o'clock.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to talking. So obviously you want to add that event structure data. So just to remind you again, I've created a page on my website where you don't have to be a coder. All you have to do is fill out this information, click the copy button, add that to every event page that's relevant on your website. That would be like the number one thing. Like, even if you already are showing in the events tab before the local listings and the search listings, it's still really important. It's also just like good to practice that and make sure that when you are adding a new event or a new page, that you request Google to index that so that they get to it on your time instead of on Google's time. And then addressing your website speed. I've taught you all earlier about how to test your website speed and page speed insights that will give you a really good idea of what to improve upon. Mainly what I see, the main 3 factors are the CMS you're using. So like if you're using Squarespace, that's immediately going to slow your website down because it's a bloated website builder. And then of course your images. I showed you earlier how to resize images before you add them to your website. You can, if you're on WordPress, you can get like an image resizer plugin. I give that to my clients because they'll try to upload 20 megabyte photos and that's not great for your website. But if you can remember to do that beforehand, you can optimize all of those images as WebP, get them under 200 kilobytes, and then add them to your website. So go to your homepage, go to your event landing pages, test the site speed on that. Is it slow? Is it okay? Anything that is under a score of 60 on page speed insights is probably not loading fast enough, and people will be leaving your website before they even get to look at your event. And then finally, search engine marketing and also Facebook ads. So of course, I'm talking about getting your Google ads up for engagement season, getting your Facebook ads going for engagement season. Facebook ads are really easy to set up. Please do not pay someone thousands of dollars to do this. Anyone can set it up that has a couple hours. They can be set up.
Hey, Google, stop the timer.
Monthly plan, updating your Google listing profile. So making sure that whenever you're posting on social media, that you're also cross-posting that to your Google listing, adding those events to your Google listing. Make sure that you're replying to all those reviews. Get in a keyword if you can reply to them constantly. You know, if you have holiday hours, update all of that stuff. The more Google sees that you are updating that listing, they see that you're present and you're active, and they're more likely to rank you. Managing your ads and SEO. So, you know, SEO is a bit more of a long-term goal. You could start writing blog content today, and it might start ranking in time for engagement season, but you're much, you know, more likely to have your Google ads and your Facebook ads drive traffic to your website before SEO. So SEO is kind of more of like a long-term game plan, but it really would behoove you to take a look at that keyword plan that you have, if you already have one. Use the tools that I taught you today to create that keyword plan, and then start implementing those keywords across your website by writing content on your website, blog form or page content. Make sure it's nice writing, make sure it's relevant, make sure it's recent, have a table of contents. You're good to go with that. And then of course, your website content and design. So if you're on this call and you're thinking, okay, my website totally sucks, or I need to fix some things on my website and I've been putting it off, you're obviously probably not going to get an entire website redesign done in time for engagement season. But what you can do is you can create nicer looking landing pages. So if you don't have time to just wipe it off the slate of the earth, you probably can hire a designer or go in yourself and redesign and restructure those pages using some of these best practices that I taught you about today. So that's what you should be doing on a monthly basis, or even more if you do have the time for that. And then of course, annually. So you want to evaluate those conversions and measure all that. And I taught you how to do that using Google Analytics 4. You can redirect the forms and the RSVPs to a thank you page, and then track to see where that traffic came from. Measure it, see what has the best ROI. Maybe it's social media, maybe it's not. Every single bridal show producer is going to be different based on the region. That's what I see with wedding venues. You know, ads might work really well over here, but organic SEO works better on this side of the country, or social media and vice versa. So not everyone is going to have the exact same game plan. There is no, I wish there was, but there's no cookie cutter or just magic button you can press. You have to kind of measure that yourself. And of course, you want to improve based on that data that Google Analytics is providing to you. So if you want to take away money from social media and put it more towards your organic or your blog content, that's where you can kind of use that data to improve everything that you're doing and make everything that you're doing make a better impact on your business and get more people registering for your shows. So let me see if I can click one more. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I don't know how many people were able to attend, but hopefully it was recorded. And now I do have all of this information and the code generator at this link. And I just wanted to open up the floor to see if anybody wants to ask me any questions or get clarification on anything that I presented.
So first of all, Elizabeth, thank you very, very much for presenting all this to us. And what I would like to know is this code generator that you went ahead and created for us to place on our websites to get us out there with Google. Is this the magic sauce that ACS is using to really populate the web out there? Is that the secret sauce? And if we go in and we do it on all these different pages and tabs, that will make a difference for us.
That will absolutely make a difference for you. But everything that I presented in this call, minus the design aspect, because their website is one of the ugliest I've ever seen. But everything as far as the technical SEO aspect that I've taught you. So the keywords and the event schema. Yes, I went to their website. Yes, I went to competitors' website. Yes, they do have this JSON schema markup that I took a screenshot of. And yes, if you generate this code on my website and place it, it is going to help you. But more importantly, you want to then go into Google Search Console, paste in the URL and say request indexing. And when you do that, it will put it up to the top of Google's queue, because otherwise they're going to crawl your website in their time. And really, that's not to say that if you don't add this schema markup that you're not going to show up in the events tab. For instance, your events are showing up, Renee, in the events tab, even though the schema I looked is incorrect and it is cited as being an article, not an event. So Google, sometimes they are smart enough to determine that stuff on their own. But if you're doing all the best practices and putting that in place and having the right content, you are going to outrank them. All you have to do, it's just a matter of keywords and it's a matter of that code. That's what it is. And also updating your Google business listing. But really, most importantly, the on-page SEO that I mentioned. And their website does load really fast, but that's because they don't have a whole lot of stylizations on their website. It's pretty much, when you go there, it's a page and then it's a few boxes with the locations and you click on it and there might be a video and some event information, but they have included that schema markup. So Google is reading that data and that's what's populating them higher.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, you guys, let's open the floor up. Thank you all who were able to get on and join us. And so the floor is open for you guys to ask questions. You'll just raise a hand. Then let's just ask Elizabeth anything and everything that you can think of. So
I have a question. Can you hear me, Renee?
yeah.
Okay, on the topic of transparency, when you said be upfront, do you have any thoughts for a very large show? Because I think sometimes it can be overwhelming. I don't want to drive to the convention center, right? I don't want to be in a big crowd, especially after COVID. You know, I think that was something that we were fighting. Do you just have any, like, if I was your client, what would you?
If you were my client and you told me and communicated to me that, hey, you know, I think people are hesitant to sign up for my show because they don't want to be at this large show and at this large convention center, I would then gear the marketing more towards like the biggest and the best. I would call that, like, I call it Texas style.
Mm-hmm. And we always have done that. We've always done that side, but we've never like addressed like parking does suck, right? Or, you know, like we've sort of like, that's what came to my mind when you said that.
So I would think you would want to address some of that stuff in the FAQ. And, you know, the parking, that's something that they're kind of going to deal with once they get there. But if you're in an area where they can take an Uber, or maybe you can even partner with Uber and reach out to them or reach out to Lyft and see if you can get some sort of a discount to get people like shuttled to the show. That's what I would do. That's what I used to do for when I worked in the wine industry. And you know, all these wineries that are outside of Napa and Sonoma in California, and they're kind of hard to get to, and like you're drinking and just to be candid, and you're supposed to be going to all these different. I signed up for a partnership with Uber and Lyft and got like a $5 to $20 discount for everyone that signed up using that code. And that was a really good partnership. And then it also just gave a little bit more rapport to my wine industry clients who kind of all partnered together to put that together. So kind of a random idea, but you can definitely change the mindset of that. Especially around the parking. Yeah, nobody loves parking. I'm at the age where if I go somewhere and there's no parking, I might turn around and leave. So whether you might just definitely put that out there where they can shuttle there, or let them know like there's a ton of people that are going to come there. It's best to take an Uber or a Lyft, and here's a discount code to use that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. Actually, and I also want to say I'm sorry about the confusion on the time change thing. It was my bad of not understanding the discrepancy. We are recording this, and I've heard from a couple of y'all, and I'm going to just email you directly the recording as soon as it's done. So you're not going to miss a beat. You won't get to ask your questions live unless you come up with a new one now. But
You can always email me.
yeah, but I really appreciate you, Elizabeth, for hanging out here with us. But I did have a question. Could you give us the bulk resizing? Is it bulkresizephotos.com?
Yep. So I'll just go ahead and share my screen again. So, and I'm so sorry, there's like all these little thumbnails and stuff that I have to move every time. So this is bulkresizephotos.com.
Okay.
And I've actually saved this. So what I do is I bookmark this. And anytime a client sends me like a huge swath of photos, as I call them, I will go here. I'm not sure if I have an image. Maybe I do. Let's see. If I wanted to just drop this image in here, I would select this as a WebP, not make it a transparent background. And then I would set the file size to be 100. I typically do 178. And then if you actually like star this, it will save these inputs on your bookmark. So instead of just taking you to bulk resize photo, it will take you to bulk resize photo WebP under 179.
Okay, and you want the WebP, not the JPEG and PNG, right?
Yeah, so that's not a me thing, that's a Google thing. Everything I do is dictated by Google and all the overlords at Google. And what's actually ironic is that Google wants you to have WebP photos on your website, but they don't accept WebP photos on their Google listings, which is so odd to me.
Really?
Yeah, you have to upload. So if you're going to post updates or post the event on your Google listing, it has to be a JPEG or a PNG. But WebPs, typically they load a little bit faster. Another tool that I use, because I deal with a lot of photos, I'm in the wedding industry, is I use this tool called, it's called Squish. And it's the same concept. If you're just doing one photo, I find it a little bit faster. And what this does is I put the image in here and I can scroll down to the format I want. So I want this to be in a WebP, and I can resize this. Maybe I want this to just be, 1600 width. And what this does, it's probably going to load really slow because I have all these tabs and I'm recording a video, but it will actually show you like the difference in quality from one size to the other. So you can kind of like use the scrolling bar and be like, okay, this photo is still going to look good on my website. 730 kilobytes is pretty small still. So you can even make this just even smaller if you want to. So those are pretty much the two tools that I use for resizing, is bulk resize and then the Squish app.
Squish app, that's so cute. And I've got a very selfish question here too.
Okay.
I'm a Squarespace person. Just because it's easy, and I'll make changes at 11 o'clock. Yeah, I make changes at like 11 o'clock at night, and I do little tinkering all the time on my site. And I've never wanted to have someone do it and then have to be paying to get in there and do it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
but I know it's slow. But is that such a big deal if I'm the biggest thing in the market? So is that going to be a game changer that's already going to take me higher? Or I'm trying to figure out if that's worth it.
Well, it really depends. So I think your website, was your website, it's bridalguidenm.com?
Yeah,
or
wedding guide nm.com.
Wedding Guide NM. Okay,
or
so
NM Wed Expo.
Why don't we just go ahead and put this into page?
Oh, great. Thank you. Oh my.
Yeah, I'm kind of no, that's okay. Like, as long as you're okay with me. So right now I'm running this through PageSpeed Insights.
Oh, it's horrible on PageSpeed Insights. I've done it. It's horrible. And I've gone through and optimized all the photos. And I've just been told when I've talked to people that it's just because it's Squarespace and the code's so bloated. And so I'm kind of saying, is that worth the balancing there?
Well, let me take a look. It's still diagnosing the performance issues. So we can just kind of use this as an exercise in real time, but to kind of give you like, ooh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's sucky.
it's okay. So I don't expect everyone on here to know what first contentful paint and time to this and speed and large contentful paint is, but it looks like the main thing is that, like I told you, you need to serve your images in next gen format. So they want it to be a WebP, not a PNG.
Yeah.
So you could go in and use the squish tool or the bulk resize tool that I showed you and just simply change these photos. So these are 670 kilobytes. I'm recommending that you get your photos down to 200 kilobytes or smaller. When it says eliminating render blocking sources, this is again a Squarespace thing. This has to do with JavaScript and CSS, which are basically, in lay terms, they are programming languages that stylize. CSS like really stylizes things on your website. Same with JavaScript. So you have a lot of unused JavaScript. But honestly, if you were to just at least resize those images based on what I've taught you and how to go to the bulk resize tool, that's going to help you a lot. You know, if you're number one in the market already, I don't necessarily see like a huge need for you to switch to WordPress if you are number one and if you can maintain that. And if there are like no other competitors that are going to come into the market. But for those that are listening that are not number one in the market and they want to have a little bit more control over, you know, having plugins, I used a number of different methods to reduce and minimize CSS and JavaScript. And I delay JavaScript by 5 seconds so that when people get to the page, it loads faster. And then all the other stuff loads as they're going down that. You know, as a developer, I have a little bit more control over that aspect. I know a lot of people use Squarespace because they think it's easier to use, but there are tools in Avada that are a lot less bloated and are more bootstrapped that are the same interface. I teach people, I always joke, I teach people that are, you know, 15 and people that are 80 how to go into WordPress and how to edit everything and do it themselves, because I certainly don't have time to make everyone's small website changes every day.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, and it doesn't mean I don't have competitors. I've got a bunch of competitors. It's just that,
Yeah,
you know, we rank, so I keep thinking it's not worth the money. But
it's just a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit easier to add code, like these codes I'm telling you about. Like I'm sure in Squarespace that there is like a little place where you can click code block and you can just paste that code in I told you about. But just as far as like using WordPress, it is a little bit more SEO friendly. They have a little bit more SEO tools. That's not to say that WordPress is going to be the answer forever. There's all kinds of other CMS out there. Like there's ClickFunnels, which is pretty fast with page speed. There's Webflow. But as far as like what's easy for like the average person to learn and use and what's going to give you the most impact, it is WordPress right now. I mean, the industry is constantly changing, so I can't say it'll be like that next year.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, is there a tool that reduces video?
Reduces video. Well, you should never self-host a video on your website. You should always host it through YouTube or Vimeo. I would recommend YouTube because it is a much more powerful search engine. Vimeo is great. I know a lot of videographers use it, but actually getting that onto YouTube is going to help your SEO because it is a really, like, a lot of people use YouTube to search for things. Yeah, and it's really overlooked in the wedding industry too. I know a lot of wedding videographers and photographers utilize it, but I don't see a lot of venues or bridal show producers really harnessing its full potential.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Elizabeth? Yeah, I started using that schema markup a long time ago, and if any of you have a website person, they can put that on for practically nothing. So I wouldn't stress out about coding. I don't code, but all I have to do is send her the list of shows and it's done.
Yep. It's really
And-
easy to do.
It really is. So rather than try to learn coding and make sure it's right and all that, I just every year just send her the list of all my shows and it's done. So, if any of you are stressing out about that, and I will say it does work, it really does. So.
Yep. And just a reminder, I do just have that code generator. So all you have to do is put the name of the show, a picture, the date, location, and the address, and click generate. And done. You don't
Yeah.
have to hire someone to do
That
that.
Elizabeth, that was so generous of you to create
Yeah.
that for us. So
Oh,
generous.
no problem.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
to help.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Other
Elizabeth,
questions, you guys?
Yeah.
Can you repeat that code generator you just said? Where do we put it on our website?
Uh-huh.
So you would just add that to a page of your website. So I'll just share my screen real quick again. So for me, what that looks like, I use Avada, is if I copy this code, I'll click to edit the page. And this is literally the back end of my website. Welcome. Cobbler's shoe. And I'll just click to add a code block, and then I can just paste it. Or not that, sorry. I didn't click the generate button before I hit edit. Sorry, but you get the point. You can actually just place the code right there. That's how it looks, at least on my screen. I know it's going to look a little bit different for everyone else, but this is how it looks like on the back end of my website. So most everyone is going to have some sort of like a drag and drop builder, and they'll just be able to add that code block in there and just paste it. And that's it.
It's worth trying. I don't like to do code, but I'm willing to try it.
Yeah,
So,
it's I wouldn't really call it coding as much as it's just like inputting something and then generating a code, so you don't have to code. But yeah, I was hoping it wasn't too technical, so I wanted to make it as simplistic as possible.
We appreciate that very, very much.
yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Please, Nancy. Hi.
Okay. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for all the information.
Yeah.
I own weddingshows.com, and my assistant and I were talking about this last week, actually. We are already coming up first in any searches. We've gone in incognito. We're at the top of everything in this area. So with that being said, is there any need to pay for Google Ads?
Do you want more people to come to your show?
So if people are so Google Ads will target people like Facebook does if they're engaged, basically, right?
Yep. Well,
Okay.
no. So Google Ads is more search based. So Google Ads is for people that are directly searching for the keywords that you're putting in there. There's two modes in Google. There is Express, which I personally feel anyone can set up, and you can go in and input your Google business information. It auto populates that for you. And you just say, I want to target people that are looking for a wedding venue or that are wedding planning. And then it kind of makes a generic ad for you based on that. And you add
Right.
your title and your text, or you go into expert mode and you say, these are the keywords I want to target. I want everyone that's searching for wedding venues near me that are in the specific location to find me and for me to populate at the top of Google. For your specific website, I'm going to run it through SpyFu and see.
And what is that tool you're using? What is it called?
SpyFu. Yeah, I'll show you. So this is
Okay.
SpyFu. So I'm looking at the monthly domain overview for weddingshows.com. So it looks like, you get about 13 clicks over to your website. You're competing. It shows your competitors, some of the shared keywords that you have with your competitors, some of the top keywords. You can view all of your organic
cool.
keywords here. And I will tell you, I'm not saying this to be a Debbie Downer, but actually going in incognito mode is not necessarily like a sure, fast way to ensure where you're ranking. The best way is to either use a tool like this or to use Ahrefs. So for instance, if I go to ahrefs.com, let's see if I can sign in and do this kind of quickly without taking up too much of everyone's time. Maybe I should close a few tabs.
Well,
Okay.
I think, Elizabeth, don't worry about it. I think we're all fascinated.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess what I was trying to say is the best way to really know what you actually are ranking for. I've had clients reach out to me and they're like, oh, why am I showing down here is, number 16, and you can actually show like through Ahrefs, like this is actually where because the search results are going to be different for every single person based on where you are. Are you using Siri? Are you using your phone? Are you on a desktop? It's going to be different. Like your mobile search results are not the same as your desktop search results. Sorry, I had a brain fart there for a second. So for instance, let's see if we can use one of my clients as an example. So I'll click on Sandy Creek Farms. So if you look at the organic keywords on here, you can look at what's called the SERP features, which this is like amazing because it's not always going to be in the, you're not always going to be like the text listing or the local pack listing. When you actually search on your phone, there's all kinds of listings. There's shopping and stories, site links, local pack, featured snippet. Featured snippet's like a huge one that's totally overlooked. And so if you use a tool like Ahrefs, it's a little bit more complicated than SpyFu, but it gives you a heck of a lot more data. So you can actually look and see like, well, how many keywords are new and improved like since the past 2 years? And you can filter that out, or you can even filter out like, okay, I don't really necessarily care about these keywords. What keywords have to do with, you know, Tennessee wedding packages or wedding venues and whatnot. And so this will actually show you on the SERP features that I'm hovering over, like where you are featured, how much traffic you are getting from these keywords. You can see this client's getting 1,600 site visitors per month from this keyword. If you keep scrolling, there's, I mean, I could scroll all day. There's 5,279 keywords that are new or improved in the past 2 years with this client. And this will give you a much more, just a much better overview, because you can't just go into an incognito window and you can't just go here and type in the keyword that you think you're going to rank for. This will actually show you real data of everyone that's searching for it and what's showing up for them, whether it's the video preview or the site link.
What was the name of that website?
This is Ahrefs. I really wouldn't recommend necessarily buying this unless you're really, really into SEO. It is $179 a month. Obviously, I need this because I'm an SEO and I need to provide this data to my clients. If you wanted to use something like SpyFu, I want to say it's a lot cheaper. It doesn't necessarily give you like quite as good of an overview. It doesn't tell you like what you're showing in as far as like site links or featured map, etc. But you can go in here and you can look at your most valuable keywords that just made the first page, or you can also see what's called almost there keywords, which is considered anything between 11 to 50, meaning you're just like right there on page 2. And like, maybe if you just improve this content a little bit, that's what's going to move you up to page 1.
Okay, but the first one, in case my guy has that already, was called Href or something.
Yeah, Ahrefs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, you guys, while we've got Elizabeth here with us?
Can you
Anybody?
show,
Oh,
can you show
Lorette.
can you show an example of a table of contents in a blog? I mean, I know what a table of contents is, but I've never put one on a blog.
Sure. And just to be totally candid here, 99% of my clients are wedding venues, but I'll show you one. I did not type that correctly. Sorry. I'll show you one in practice here and kind of what that looks like. So let's head up to this client's blog section. Okay, so there's all the real weddings, and then they have destination weddings, elopement advice. I think maybe I have one on here. So this is an example I was kind of explaining earlier about like getting people earlier in the funnel and like getting engagement photographers. So here on the table of contents, I have, you know, the engagement shoot, which they offer on their property, the sunset proposal package, which is a new package they offered because I wrote a few blogs regarding proposals and people were just inquiring about having a proposal at this wedding venue. Top 12 proposal spots, how to pick a proposal spot that suits you both. And then whenever you click that information, it kind of tethers you down. Typically on this page, I'll show you, it will have a pop-up. It's not doing it to me because I've been into the website so many times, so I'll do it incognito. But typically, if you are scrolling down here, this little pop-up comes here and it says, are you interested in getting more information about our new proposal package? Obviously, they're interested in a proposal because they're looking at engagement photographers. So if I say, yes, please, sorry, this little Zoom bar is in the way. Perfect. So then it sends you to the actual like proposal package page. Sorry that if that's a little bit off topic, but to me, you want it to actually say table of contents, and then you want that to be hyperlinked to anchor down to that specific content that's on, yeah, that's there. And then of course, having some more blogs underneath there that are relevant for them to read is also useful as well, as far as just keeping them on the page longer. And if you see, if I hang out on this page long enough, this little pop-up comes up again and asks me if I want to get some pricing info about the proposal package, and then sends me to that page. So yeah, that's, sorry, a little off topic, but that's what a table of contents looks like. And those are different ways that you can kind of interact with people as they're engaging with that content on your page.
And Elizabeth, if you don't mind, just remind us why that table of contents increases our ability to rank and the SEO that goes along with that.
Sure. So, I mean, straight from the horse's mouth, Google appreciates a table of contents. Any plugin that you're going to use, like Rank Math I mentioned earlier, they're going to encourage you to add a table of contents. So not only does it kind of help organize that content, but also if someone is just scrolling forever in this blog post and they're not getting to what they're looking for, they're going to leave your website. So not only does it impact it from like the best practices according to Google standpoint, but also impacts it as far as the user experience for people that are visiting the page and getting to the information that they want to get to in a more concise manner.
Thank you. Thank you.
So just on this, one more question about that. So it's just hyperlinked to the text below.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just,
yeah, that's all it is. So I know in Squarespace, I've done it in Wix before, but if I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, this pops up too. If you're about to leave the page, it gives a complimentary offer. But typically what that looks like is you have an option to add what's called an anchor in Squarespace or in Wix, and you add the name of the anchor. And then the hyperlink is simply just like the hashtag and then the name of the anchor, if that makes sense. It's going to be different like in every CMS, but just kind of as like an overview. It's not really hard to implement that on your own. It's quite easy. You don't need to hire someone to do that.
thank you.
Elizabeth, on the Google profile, did you say under the business category is where we should put all our categories that are in our shows?
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial. I mean, you don't need to go too crazy, but when you're adding more of those categories that are relevant to the show that you are producing, because if you put wedding florist, well, yes, that is true because there is a wedding florist that's at the show, or a photographer or a caterer. You're going to show up more in Google. I'm not telling you to be like totally misleading. It needs to say that you are a bridal show and that these are the vendors in your description. But one other thing I want to impress upon everyone is please don't put keywords in the name of your business on your Google listing. So don't put like Pink Bride - Nashville bridal shows. That is a big no-no. I correct those all the time on Google when I see my clients, competitors doing that, and it knocks them further down. And also, yeah, Google doesn't like that. It's kind of black hat SEO method.
So do you think you'd start getting calls? Like I get calls already to be, to decorate people's events. And I'm just wondering if you start putting that down as categories, so you'll start getting all kinds of calls to photograph someone's wedding or.
That is true. Yeah, devil's advocate. So I guess it really depends if you want to kind of filter those calls out or not. I think it's just really important that you put up front and center that you are a bridal show producer. The thing is at the wedding industry, and this is pretty much every industry, and I think everyone's guilty of this, is just like scrolling through a website, skipping the pricing or skipping the details, and then reaching out to someone. I think that's a pain point that everyone has, no matter where they are. People come to my website all the time. What's your pricing? I'm like, it's right here. It's flashing. There's neon signs around it. So yeah, you're inevitably going to get people that are still going to be contacting you with some of those like annoying questions. But you might use as an example, if they are calling you and if they haven't like picked their wedding venue yet, that is a chance for you to get them to come to your bridal show. But if they have already picked their wedding venue, maybe you can just kind of direct them to one of the florists or whatever vendor that will be at your show, because at the end of the day, you need these vendors to be at your show to produce the show, and the more business you send their way, it just makes you look nicer and better.
You guys, if we don't have any other questions, we are at our 90 minutes. So any last questions before we wrap it up? You got Elizabeth, thank you so much. Again, thank you for your effort and everything that you put into this, your passion, it comes through. And we have been really, really blessed by having you share all this information with us today. So I just want to thank you again for taking your time, for putting your slide deck together and sharing everything with us. And
Yeah, of course.
so
I'm happy
thank you
to.
so much. Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right. So you guys will see you in January on our next webinar. Again, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everybody, and have an awesome show season. It's here. It's honest. Let's rock and roll, you guys, and make it happen. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm looking forward to getting that recording so I can understand what we just talked about.
Oh, I know. She went fast, which is great. And I get it. But
I
need to
came
go
in
back
so
to
late
read.
that I didn't want to ask questions, but I'm
Yeah.
excited. to
Well,
see it.
I was there and I even was like, wait a second. I need to go back. I need to go back. So I need to go. I need to go get it.
Well, it's
So
okay.
usually
good.
Bruce sends these out, but he's out of town and is going to be gone and things. I'm just going to send it out to the people who are on here who
Okay,
asked about it in the chat. So that,
Okay, great.
and I'll add you to that list, Shelley, too. So
Okay,
we
good.
can,
Thank
oh, you
very
already
much.
were on there. You already asked. Huh. So I'll go ahead
Appreciate
and send
it.
it out.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll send that out. Thank
I
you.
have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. You too.